Have you ever walked down the street and met a poor homeless man asking for your help and felt the incredible urge to quickly walk away before he can even finish his request? One of the principal reasons for this phenomenon is guilt. Standing in front of you is a human being like you, but unlike you, he's fallen on hard times. He might not have a roof over his head or food to eat. In a theoretical world, you'd love to just give him €1,000,000, help him start up a business, set himself on his feet and go ahead to a good life. But in practice, you know that you can't do that. And so you wonder to yourself if €1 or 2 is going to make any difference whatsoever. Now imagine that things would actually be different. Imagine if you would give him a small amount of money, say €1 or 2, and he'd take that money and buy something small with it, selling it off at a small profit. He'd then take his profit and buy another thing slightly more expensive and sell that at a small profit. Slowly but surely, he might be able to work his way back up into the business world, earn himself a decent living and find a roof over his head and start to live again. If that was the case, you'd probably happily give him €1. In fact, you might even give him 2. But the fact is, you don't think that's possible. The following idea might change the way you look at even the smallest charitable act. At the very end of this week's Sedra, the Torah describes the unusual mitzvah of Egla Arufa. The Torah says that if a man is found lying dead in a field, seemingly murdered, and we don't know who the murderer was, then the following has to be done. The elders of the nearest city bring a young calf to a steep valley, and they behead the calf there in the valley. They then wash their hands over the blood, and they say, Yodenu lo shofchu es adam hazeh, our hands never spilt this blood. Ask the Gemara a fundamental question. Would we have really imagined that the elders of the nearby city were the ones who murdered this person? Says the Gemara, of course not. But what the elders have to confess is that they never allowed this person to leave their town unescorted without food and without drink. That's absolutely incredible, because that means to tell us that if they had let him go unescorted without food and drink, they would have some kind of guilt in this crime. What is the connection between not giving someone food and drink and the fact that he ended up murdered? When someone feels alone and vulnerable, they lose their interest to live. So a person leaves a town and no one escorts him. He has very little food and very little drink and only a bit of money in his pocket. And there in the middle of a lonely field, a highwayman jumps out at him with a gun and says, "It's your money or your life." Now he has very little to live for, but the money that he has in his pocket is the only thing of value. So he might decide to put up a fight. And in doing so, he might actually lose his life in the process. Imagine if the person did have something to live for. Imagine if he knew that he had friends and family and he had food waiting for him and money at home. He might decide it's not worth a fight. He might happily give over his money to the person just to save his life, hoping that he'll be able to get away safely. So actually what the Torah is telling us is that the choice lies in our hands. We could make sure that nobody feels alone, that no one's left wanted, that everyone has a sense of purpose and belonging in this world. It doesn't make a difference if you can't give thousands of euro, even a couple of euro, even a small amount of food, even a smile can go all the way to telling someone that he's important, that he's a person of worth, and that can change the way that person actually views their own existence and make the difference between life and death.